credibility, just as we should maintain our credibility as well. And it came to pass about this time, in other words, every day, that Joseph went in into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And I imagine Joseph was very suspicious that no one was in the house as normal. No doubt Potiphar's wife had that by design. And she caught him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." And she's persistent. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. He fled naked. And it came to pass when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth. Well, let me ask you, if you were walking by Potiphar's house and you saw Joseph running naked, what would you think? Ray Stevens, I think, wrote a song, something about fastest thing on 2 feet. Verse 14, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, See, he hath brought in an Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. I was saying, No, no, stop, stop. That's a lie. She's setting Joseph up. And it came to pass when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled and got him out. She's lying. And who do you think they're going to believe, though? And she laid up his garment by her, keeping the evidence close at hand, until his lord, that's Potiphar, came home. No doubt she was looking the part of an abused woman, the crocodile tears flowing, no doubt.
Spread on the bread.
And she spake unto him, to Potiphar, according to these words, saying, The Hebrew servant which thou hast brought in unto us, and Potiphar, it's your fault. If you hadn't brought that Hebrew in here, none of this would have happened. Thou hast brought into us, came in unto me to mock me. Moffat translates this word mock as insult me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice, his wife continues, and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out. She's slandered Joseph. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, After this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. Verse 20, And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison. Innocent. Hadn't committed any crime, but he's falsely accused. He was set up. He was framed by Potiphar's wife. Probably a good thing he was in prison to protect him from Potiphar's wife. Verse 21, But the Lord was with Joseph, and showed him mercy, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. When God shows you favor and you're blessed of him, it doesn't matter where you are. Even if you're in prison, he can show you mercy and favor. Don't ever forget. Again, Joseph was blessed in all that he did in Egypt. And it's a good thing. Jacob and the other 12 patriarchs probably would have starved to death if it hadn't been for Joseph becoming so popular and well known in Egypt.
On the bread did what to others as he recruited since he lost his brothers in the first go-round.
And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. He was put in charge of Potiphar's house. Now he's been placed in charge of the prison. The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand. He wasn't concerned about anything that was under his hand, his responsibility, in other words, because of Joseph's diligence. Because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. when God blesses you, it's apparent to all that you're blessed. And Potiphar, no doubt, noticed that he was blessed as well. I find it humorous oftentimes when I hear someone say, boy, I wish I could be like the prophets, one of the prophets in the Old Testament. My mind always races to Jeremiah when they say that. Turn with me to Jeremiah chapter 38, verse 1.
Jeremiah
also falsely accused and placed in prison. Jeremiah 38, verse 1, we're going to pick it up with. And it reads, Then Shephatiah, the son of Matan, and Gedaliah, the son of Pashur, and Jukal, the son of Shelemiah, and Pashur, the son of Malchiah, heard the words that Jeremiah had spoken unto all the people, saying. Now, these are important people in Jerusalem. They're princes and elders of the tribes. They didn't like what the Lord had to say to them.
They were trying to keep up their personal hand work, regardless of others surviving.
Thus saith the Lord. This is the words of Jeremiah, the Lord through Jeremiah. He that remaineth in this city, Jerusalem, shall die by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence. But he that goeth forth to the Chaldeans shall live, for he shall have his life for a prey. In other words, his booty or spoil, and shall live. Now, Chaldeans, of course, most of you know, Chaldee is a language, not a people, really, and there are 5 dialects of the Chaldee language. So we're talking about Babylonians here, don't be thrown. Verse 3, Thus saith the Lord, this city shall surely be given into the hand of the king of Babylon's army,
with the fucking book
which
that we
shall
all
take
read,
it.
what?
And of course, you know, the king of Babylon is a type for the Antichrist. He's coming. Verse 4, Therefore the princes, those mentioned in verse 1, said unto the king, We beseech thee, let this man, Jeremiah, be put to death. For thus he weakeneth the hands of the men of war that remain in this city, and the hands of all the people, in speaking such words unto them. For this man seeketh not the welfare of this people, but the hurt. Let's get rid of this prophet of God. We don't want to hear the truth. Then Zedekiah, the king, he's the last king of Judah before the Babylonian captivity.
He cries about his
then Zedekiah the king said, Behold, he is in your hand, for the king is not he that can do anything against you. Zedekiah was one weak
He thinks carrying
king.
the Cretan through war is capable of him receiving himself that was done, and it's not.
Malchiah, the son of Hamelech, that was in the court of the prison, thrown in prison for telling the truth. He was innocent, completely innocent. And they let him down, they let down Jeremiah with cords or ropes. And in the dungeon there was no water but mire. This is sticky mud.
Mire. It was a drug they smoked
in the mire.
With something soaking on their skin.
Neck, most likely in the mud. How would you like to trade places with Jeremiah?
To hide their sin, they
just
said on your show.
Prophets of the Old Testament.
That's what mire was.
I could cut it.
Since they wanted to go hide it deeper with the tire.
Now when Ebed-Melech, the Ethiopian, one of the eunuchs, which was in the king's house, the Zedekiah's house, heard that they had put Jeremiah in the dungeon, the king then sitting in the gate of Benjamin. And in other words, when Ebed-Melech heard about this, Zedekiah was sitting in the gate of Benjamin. Ebed-Melech, which means servant of the king, went forth out of the king's house and spake to the king, saying. Now, this would be pretty bold of a eunuch to approach the king. No doubt God was directing this eunuch. My lord the king, these men have done evil in all that they have done to Jeremiah the prophet, whom they have cast into the dungeon. and he is like to die. In Hebrew, this is he will die for hunger in the place where he is, for there is no more bread in the city. Jeremiah is going to die for sure, buried in his neck up to the mud, in that mud. Verse 10, then the king commanded Ebed-melech the Ethiopian, saying, take from hence 30 men with thee, and take up Jeremiah the prophet out of the dungeon before he die. Verse 11, so Ebed-melech took the men with him, and went into the house of the king under the treasury, and took thence old cast clouts, this word means rags, and old rotten rags that are probably old garments, and let them down by the cords unto the dungeon to Jeremiah, by the rope that they will eventually pull him out with. And Ebed-melech the Ethiopian said unto Jeremiah, put now these old cast clouts and rotten rags under thine armholes. In other words, wrap the ropes with these rags and then put them in under your armpits, under the cords or ropes. And Jeremiah did so. Ebed-melech, concerned about the welfare of Jeremiah, wanting him to be as comfortable as he could while they pulled him out. So they drew up Jeremiah with cords and took him up out of the dungeon. And Jeremiah remained in the court of the prison. God takes care of his own.